Hello, thank you for tuning in to Gotham Sound TV. I'm Nick Huston for Gotham Sound, and today we are doing something a little bit new. We've got a new backdrop, we've got some new equipment, and we're going to try doing kind of a rapid reaction to a new product called the Zaxcom RX8. So they have started shipping in very limited quantities. I don't have one here, so to show it off, we're just going to take a quick peek at the Zaxcom website. And also take a look through the manual. So this is the Zaxcom RX8. So as you can guess, this is an 8-channel wireless receiver. So the way that it works is you've got the RX8 box, as you can see here. And then on the side, you've got 2 MRX modules. They could be the QRX 212 or the MRX 214 or the MRX 414. The way you're going to get 8 channels is by using 2 MRX 414s. So the cool thing about this is, 8 discrete channels in a very small chassis. But then if you look at the connectivity, it's really pretty amazingly flexible. So it's got Dante, and you can actually use power over Ethernet to power it off of Dante. So if you wanted to remote that out there and not run anything else with it and just have it be as a standalone receiver, you can power it off of Dante. It does have its own separate 12-volt in. There's time code. There's audio in and out, and this is pretty flexible. We'll go through this a little bit later, but this can be any configuration of analog I/O, AES I/O, and then you've got RS422 control for interfacing with either the IFB 200 or 300 or the camera link 3 or 4. And then you've actually got loop throughs on the RF inputs along with an RF switch. So you've got 2 antennas that can go in here. This does not provide bias power, so passive antennas only, or you're going to provide bias separately. But you can loop that out. And what that means, if we look at the back, is that the back has a 12-volt out as well. So you can actually stack these together and be able to power a second RX8 from the first RX8 running either on PoE or off of the Hiroshi connector that we talked about, link them together with the AES I/O and get 16 channels of Dante back. So that's pretty darn cool right there. And obviously sharing the same antennas, so you don't have to worry about additional RF distribution. This uses the same standard Zaxcom RF amplification. So it has, like the mic plexer where it amplifies the signal coming in to distribute it to the receivers. This has that built in. It's got the same tracking 35 megahertz front end, so that you pick a 35 megahertz window and you stay within that 35 megahertz window and it'll filter. Uses all the same Zaxcom compatibility, so it'll do ZHD, 48, 96, and of course the regular that we're all used to. And the interface, if you're familiar with Zaxcom, you'll kind of get it right away. You can see that it's pretty normal. So in terms of advanced features, it has a built-in frequency scanner and Autopic software so that it can scan the RF spectrum and automatically pick what's best for you. If you've got it paired with a ZMT, if you've got it paired with your transmitters correctly and you're using either an IFB transmitter, a 200 or 300, or a camera link, you can actually have it not just pick all the frequencies, but also program all of your transmitters so that you're just sending it all out at once. So that is pretty neat. And we'll talk a little bit more about the I/O here, but that definitely is pretty cool. Okay, so let's switch over to the manual. Okay, so if we look at the manual, this is the very first version of the manual, and there's a couple interesting things in here. Number one, it's great that the first thing is just a detailed understanding of what all the buttons do on the front. So I definitely, before you get your hands on it, if you've never used Zaxcom before, definitely check out the manual, just see what the buttons do. And you'll see that you're controlling either the first or the second receiver Then there's 2 different sides on each one. We've got the side panel, which we talked about, Dante 12 volt. Time code in, I thought that was interesting because the time code in is specifically linked when time code is sent on Dante to analog audio 4in. So let's say you've got, and the whole idea with this is that you've got your RX8 on set, and let's say you want to use the time code out either to be feeding an IFB 200, 300, or camera link, or you want to use it to jam slates and things like that. So you can route you've got a Dante box somewhere, you can take the time code out of your recorder or your master time code source, put it into your Dante stream, sending to the RX8 over Dante 4, and then the RX8 will pick that up and put it in the time code. So I thought that was pretty cool. Very interesting here. Don't plug anything into the USB. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. So that particular USB is for factory use only. This one is the one for interfacing with other products. Nice side view, which is pretty great. In the rear view, we've got, this is kind of the standard Zaxcom home screen where you've got your audio levels and your battery levels, and then which antenna you're using, whether it's recording or not. We got all that. We don't need to see. All these things are very, this is all part of the standard Zaxcom ecosystem. So we're just going to skip right by a lot of this stuff. Thank you for bearing with me. This is all very experimental here. So this is interesting here. So you've got 2 different modes. You've got the single mode or the dual mode. And single mode configures 2 of the MRX receivers to operate as a single receiver. So essentially giving you a true diversity where you've got each MRX 414 has 4 receivers in it. So basically in single mode, you're pairing 2 of those 4 receivers to work with one transmitter, giving you true hardware diversity. And then dual mode, of course, is allowing you to use 2 of the 4 MRX receivers to operate as 2 independent receivers. That's how you're going to get your big track count or wireless count. So, single mode, if you're doing a small scene, you only need a couple channels of wireless, or you have a hero that you really want to make sure that you're doing hardware diversity on, you can do that. And then as your wireless needs increase, you can increase it from 4 receivers minimum all the way up, or 4 transmitters minimum all the way up to 8 for one RX8. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then this is something that's really interesting. So, so this is something that's really interesting. The different configurations of the DB25 connector are all in a menu. So let's take a look at what some of those are. So in mode 0, each receiver side A and B will receive signal from 2 mono transmitters, and AES audio will be outputted for each side. So mode 0 is the normal mode. Mode 1 is that the A receiver will output a signal from 1 stereo transmitter, and the B receiver will receive signal from 2 mono transmitters. So you're starting to see that there can be a lot of flexibility where you're sending 1 stereo transmitter to one side of the receiver and 2 mono transmitters to another one. So for people that are using wireless boom or MS or something like that, where they're doing a stereo source, you can do that using this configuration. So it's important to pay attention to what the configuration modes are. All right, so then mode 2, that'd be 2 stereo transmitters. Then you've got mode 3, analog. So each receiver side will receive a signal from 2 mono transmitters, and analog audio will be output. Mode 4, analog stereo, you get the picture. Mode 5, analog stereo and mono. So now you're splitting them. And then you've got mode 6, AES and mono. So the interesting thing here is, it's all about what the configuration of your transmitters are and what your input and output is. If you're based in AES, if you're based in analog, if you're mixing and matching the two, all that stuff. So let's take a look. Okay, and then we've got the DB25 modes. So we've got the in-out mode. So what is the DB25 doing? So the audio out. So in RX 1 to 4 mode, the audio outputs from the A receiver, analog or AES, whatever it's configured through, are on the DB25 connector. In the 8 AES input to Dante mode, so that means so that would be taking the 8 AES inputs and putting it into Dante. So that's for when you've got a second RX8 attached via DB25. It's going to take those 8 AES inputs that you're taking from the other one and put that on Dante 9 through 16. So that's how you get your 16 channels. So in terms of DB25 outputs, so 5 through 8, audio outputs from the B side, 5 through 8s, and then of course there's 5 analog to Dante 8. So let's see. When the RX8 is remoted, 4 channels of analog audio received via Dante can be outputted to the DB25. So this is good for, as we talked about, the time code. Also, as we talked about, the time code, putting that on Dante channel 4. But also, if you're sending a mix to your camera link or to your IFB 200, you can use that as the output to go into that. And then this is a pretty handy diagram here that shows the different pin configurations. As you can see, it's all the Tascam standard. So going with some industry standard standardization. And I'll just say standard a couple more times to make it standard so we understand how standard it is. But it shows the different AESs or analog pin configurations. Again, it's all industry standard, so you could use off-the-shelf things for Tascam. All right, let's see what else we have here. All right, so and this is kind of nice because it shows some potential use cases. So you're using a recorder with an AES interface and 8 channels coming from the RX8. You've got your Dante bridge, and then you've got the RX8, so you do that. You've got the RX8 with a PoE injector and a recorder with Dante. You've got your RX8 going directly to your recorder with Dante, powered by a 12-volt power source. And then you've got your another recorder using PoE. And then here you are, you've got things stacked. So you've got 2 RX8s with Dante going to a PoE and into your recorder that's got Dante. So that's pretty useful. So basically, the RX8 really flexible over 1 Ethernet cable with PoE for 300 feet or so. You can remote that on set with antennas, be able to have remote control if you've got an IFB 300, and send 8 channels back. With a second one, you can do 16 channels, and there's a whole bunch of flexibility there. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me through this new, kind of rapid response video that we're trying out here. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. You can also email us at info@gothamsound.com. Right now we've got winter hats, which are covering up my hair. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, you can go to gothamsound.tv for this video and more. Thanks so much for watching.